Um, just a little quick thing about the values that we have here at Recovery Church. Some of the ones that we got together, I mean, the normal forms for each one of these are like this long. So we wanted to shorten them so we could tell people what our values are with Recovery Church. The first one is unity. All are welcome. There is unity in our diversity. And we are entitled to our shared solutions. We are united with the church in all 12 steps, fellowships. We are for the church. We are for the recovery. We encourage the Recovery Church family to be active in both. And recovery. We do recover from addictions and grow to help others. God's purpose is for Jesus to live in us and through us. We have the freedom to live an abundant, sober life. Jesus is our hope. He is with us and therefore the bedrock of our faith. Bible. The Bible is the inspired word of God and reveals the divine standards in which we believe, teach, and do. Service. We joyfully serve and carry the message of faith and recovery because faith without works is dead. Community. We value and are part of the greater community. Therefore, we work with people, organizations, and churches to help serve others in and out of recovery. Steps. We work and believe in the 12 steps because they embody many of the Bible's core teachings and will lead a person closer to God. Rotation. We serve with the spirit of rotation with humility at the center of all efforts. We believe in prayer because prayer is powerful and connects us with God. Raw. Recovery Church is raw, unrefined, admitted, allowing us to take faith-filled risks that almost always involve change. Discipleship and sponsorship. The more we give faith and recovery away, the more we receive it. We cannot do this alone because we recover together. We see both sponsorship and discipleship as essential to our lives. Finally, love. We will be known for our love. I'll tell you what, besides just the raw, one of the things I seen was hot. I'm like, hot. I seen this church, they're all wearing shirts that say, "We are hot." And I'm like, okay, where are they getting to? And as you get closer, you can read the words. Honest, open, and transparent. And that really hit me because in recovery, you have to be honest. You got to be open and transparent. Especially if you're got a sponsor or even if you're a sponsee, you got to be open. He or she's got to be able to look at you and know you well enough that if there's something bothering you, they can see it. They can feel it. Because if you keep everything bottled up inside you, you're going to be right back where you started. But when you're open and honest, the whole world will come to you. And Lo, would you like to introduce?
Sure. So he mentioned the spirit of rotation, and we mean that. This isn't about any persons or personalities except for Christ. And so tonight we have someone joining us, and Mark's been with us once before here, and he's come back to speak for us this time, and I've known him for a while. We have some crossover between a lot of common friends and work and some other things, but he's going to bring a message tonight. He gave me a little bit of lead, and it was on Facebook, so you know coming in, but looking forward to hearing that. Meanwhile, if you don't want the ads to pop up between worship, then you can help us by giving, because we are a fully self-sufficient organization. None of us receive a penny. This is simply to support the work we do here at the church and in the community. So as the plate comes around, please give as the Lord directs you and guides you. Also, just so you know, Recovery Church movement started and now it's growing. There are 20 locations around the country, and there's a goal to get that to 30 fairly soon. Part of that involves a core group of folks that are helping make that happen, namely the founder, which is Phil Dvorak. So Pastor Phil has a new office. Okay, it's really a shed, But it's an office for him, and it's in his backyard. So we expect great things to come there. And we just did a sort of a groundbreaking or a dedication yesterday there. And so if you want to be more involved with Recovery Church Movement, if you're watching online and maybe you're in an area where there isn't a Recovery Church and you'd like to have one, reach out to us. Connect with us through Facebook, or my phone number's on there. You can reach us that way. And we'd like to help you start this movement where you are as well. We are seeing great things happen. Hundreds of people coming to Christ through this approach. Hundreds of people being baptized. We're seeing a lot of people showing up on an average week. We're having, several hundred people attend these services. I think it was close to 500 weekly doing this. So we're a growing movement. We expect to grow more, and we'd like you to be a part of it. So if you're not already plugged in, please reach out and do so. Now, come on up, Mark. Introducing my friend Mark Gibson. Okay. And just want to thank you again for being here, brother. All right, thanks. It is long.
Oh, it's right here. Okay. Do I got it? All right, I think I got it. Hi, everybody. My name's Mark. I'm a recovered drug addict and an alcoholic, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here tonight. That being said, I wanted to start with a little story. So I remember the first time that I ever was nervous, and it's become a gift because it allows God to work more through my heart and spirit. And my mother passed away in 1974, and my father remarried, and we were going to the wedding. And I remember I was a ring bearer. I was 6 years old, and I remember thinking to myself, somebody told me, and I forgot who, but they said, think about something you absolutely hate. And at the time, it was eggs. It's turned into something really good, but at the time it was eggs. And I remember walking down that aisle, and they were like, think about you could be eating eggs instead of this. And I'm just here to say I'm not thinking about eating eggs at all. And that's part of the renewal of my mind back then that is transformed into now. So I wanted to talk today about the third step in renewal of the mind. And I was angry a long time with God and with Christ. Like, I thought I knew Christ, but I didn't know Christ. I knew of him. I knew him by name. I knew how to say a lot of set prayers that were told to me, but I never knew the meaning in any of them. That's the gift of my alcoholism. That's the gift of my drug addiction. Because without those things, I'm probably not sitting up here on a Saturday afternoon at 4:17, 4:18 in the afternoon talking to you about Christ and my relationship with him. That's when we talk about hot and we talk about honest, we talk about, I think it was open-minded and transparent. That's about as honest and transparent as I can be when it comes to my relationship with Christ now. And that relationship did not start like, oh my God, here I am. You know what I mean? It was not like the big book talks about. It was the educational variety. No doubt about it. Now, in a cocaine psychosis, I will suggest the white lightning experience, but as a general rule, it's been more of the educational variety, like little blips of time that I've just had these aha moments. But I want to start off with kind of talking about what got me there. It was a few weeks ago that it was Easter, last week, and I want to talk about one of the scriptures that really was impactful to me, Matthew 28:6. He is not there, he is risen. And I want to talk about the fact for me, like, I didn't understand what the significance of that was for a very long time. And I'm not going to bash the way I was raised. I'm not going to bash the church. And I'll just say I was an altar boy, and I spent a lot of time in the rectory. I spent a lot of time counting offerings. I spent a lot of time, my first job was in the office, making $3.35 an hour. And it was a refuge for me. But I never understood it. But I always had a drawing to God. It's funny because, and this is no lie, because it's ironic. Thank you again, Lyle, for having me up there. Because when I was a kid, most kids played like firemen and policemen. I said mass in my bedroom. I had a mass book that I got. And the whole thing about being a priest, though, that if you know me at all, like you'll know that that's probably not a life that I could probably lead successfully with the vows and the things that the Catholic priests do. But with that being said, on the other side of the coin, I've always had a yearning for a relationship with Christ. I've always had that like there's something there for me. I've always felt it. And you know what, that gut instinct, I've always had it. And my first drinker jug changed all that. It became artificial. It became things of this world. It became all earthly for me. It became all about things, cars, houses, money, just everything. I just went the complete other way that God designed me to be. And that's what I celebrate today. God took me back to the other side. You know, when it talks about Romans 12:2, and Romans 12:2 is one of my favorite scriptures. Romans 12:2 says, don't copy the behavior and customs of the world, but let God transform you into a new person by the way you think. Addiction and alcoholism completely changed that from what God created me to be. And isn't it funny how the paradox is, I'm grateful. When people used to say, I'm a grateful, recovered drug addict and alcoholic, I didn't understand that for a very long time, because I was like, how could you be grateful for jails, institutions, death, divorce, estrangement from children, loss of jobs? How could you be thankful for any of that? I didn't understand it. And you know what? God can take a negative and turn it into a positive, and that's what it says all over Scripture. And that's, Luke 1:37, nothing is impossible with God. And you know what? It's easy for me to say that, but I bet you, I know there's people in this room that I've seen that be the case for. And I bet you that there's people I don't know in this room that I would love to know that that's the case for them too. You know, and nothing is impossible with God. But so I want to talk about the third step. Made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as we understood him, right? So how do I do that? Like, how do I renew my mind by turning my will and my life over to the care? You know, how do I think and how do I act? How do I do that? You know, the big book talks about, there's 3 requirements that it talks about in the third step. The first requirement being on page 60, we're convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success in the third step. And when you look at my self-will, I always describe myself as a fast riser and a hard faller. I don't know if you can identify with that, but when I have my mindset on something, as much as I did both in my professional career and whatever, I've done the same thing in my active addiction. You know what I mean? I mean, going out there on the streets and scoring drugs, it was like, you know, it was $200, get ripped off, and it was like, you're not taking my $200. And I'd go back and I'd find a way to do it. You know, I'm going to be a successful drug addict, successful at trying to kill myself. The problem was I was scared of living. That was my real problem. The third, you know, the concept in the third step is all about faith, you know, and that takes me to Hebrews 11:2. Some of you guys are probably familiar with that. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for and is the evidence of what we cannot see. When I walked into the rooms of recovery and the Christian people I walk alongside that I've seen recover, the only thing I had to hold on to was believing what you said about your recovery. Believing that Christ interceded in a way for you like he did on the cross for us all. I needed to believe that. And it was of the educational variety. It was a slow process. It did not happen overnight. It's still happening for me. It's still happening for me. You know, I wrote some notes here. You know, I mean, you know, I saw, when I talk about grace and I talk about mercy, do I see the potential overdose opportunities that God saved me from? Did I see the grace and the mercy that was the DUIs I should have gotten? No. I look at the divorce I had. I look at the kids I don't see. I look at the jobs I lost. I don't look at the things that I don't know about, that I don't think about. I don't think about, like, maybe I could have gotten in an accident on the way here, but God saw fit that it didn't happen. Like, I don't think of things that unless it's in my face. And that's the thing. That's what recovery has given me. Like, I don't, like, evidence of things unseen. You know, we were talking on the way up here, and we were talking about, I think it was on the way up here, we were talking about things that are unseen. It's so easy to say, well, this could have happened. I was talking with someone about, like, acting out and like, just wanting to get a case of the screw it, I'm going to go out and I'm going to like do it. And the very next day, an opportunity came that if he had done that, he wouldn't have had the opportunity that was presented. Like, wait for the miracle to happen. That's what faith is for me. See, faith has to do with also being able to be used by God instead of what I can take, what I can give. That's the transformation. That's the renewal of the mind for me. It's not like, what can I take from this situation? It's what can I give to this situation? And that's not always easy to do because I'm selfish by nature. The second requirement and third step in the big book is hereafter in this drama, this thing called life, we're going to have a new director, right? That director for me is Christ. Okay, and it's not my go-to still. It's not, because I'm still a human being. I'm still flawed. When I get mad, I don't go to, well, let me go pray about it. When I lost that job that I feel like I was wronged by, I don't go, well, let me go talk to Christ about it, journal about it, and I'll get back. That's not where I go. I need someone who's going to come to me and they're going to say, you know what, maybe you want to pause when agitated or doubtful, like the big book says. Maybe you want to, Proverbs is full of things like that. The book of Proverbs is such a powerful book about instructing me on how to live and how to just take my time and just breathe a little bit, which is really hard for me to do because I always feel like I have to be doing something. I always feel like I got to be saying something, moving, shaking, and people who know me well will tell you that's the truth. And you know what that tells me about me? That tells me about me that there are times when I'm not comfortable in my own skin. So how can I become comfortable in my own skin? I got to get quiet. My days when they don't start like with quiet and scripture and just meditating and journaling, it's not good. It's just not good for me. And so I have to do that. The part of that renewal of that mind for me is that I want that. Isn't that amazing? I like thirst for that. And that's as transparent as I can be. When I get up in the morning, I think as I'm having my coffee, it's like, okay, what? Because I have a whole little library, and I pick out different things, and that's how I kind of create my own internal sermon. And it's like putting a piece of a puzzle together. I take like three different books, and I'm like, okay, how does this connect with this? And they're three different authors. It has nothing to do with each other, but that's where I kind of get my renewing of the mind. I do that, and I'm like, it's kind of a challenge for me. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone. But I'll take 3 different readings and I'll do that, and it's become incredibly resourceful for me. 2 Corinthians 3:18 talks about all of us are looking with unveiled faces at the glory of the Lord as if he were looking at a mirror. We are being transformed into that same image from one degree of glory to the next degree of glory. This comes from the Lord, which is in the Spirit. Transformed. There it is again. The third step prayer, which is all about that. The third requirement in the third step is next we launched. You see, I get in my own way. And next we launched talks about going into that fourth step in recovery, removing the blocks of self, which have gotten me into a lot of trouble in my life, which I know that's not what I'm talking on right now. But I will tell you that the renewal of the mind, I have some work to do. I have some work to do. Turning it over to the care of my higher power, which I choose to call Jesus Christ, is not an easy thing for me to do on a daily basis. But when I take a look at it and I see Christ has worked into my life, like in multiple ways. Like I'm in Florida in 2012. I had no idea that I would be living in Florida. Zero. There's people. In fact, I don't think there's anybody in this room I knew in 2012. Nobody. Isn't that exciting? Who am I going to know by the year 2025? Who can I bring a message to about Christ in 2025? That's been a challenge in my prayer and meditation life because sometimes I don't think I'm equipped. I don't know if you can identify with that. Sometimes I don't think I'm that person who can do that. But it's obvious when I feel that God's using me with others. So when I'm able to, I share that message, and what I share with those people is there are people that you in this room right now and online can reach that I could never reach. They can identify with your hair color, with your race, with your job, with your divorces, with all the destruction that maybe you feel really down about today, and you're really down, and you think that there's no hope. God can, number one, turn it around, right? Because like what it talks about in the book of Luke. And second, God can use that to help someone else. Like when you think about that, when I'm sitting there and I'm in the throes of addiction, and I'm picking up plaster off the floor of a closet, and I'm like renting my car out, and I'm doing things that I know, like, and I'm in that obsession of the mind, and I don't know what else to do. When I'm in that, I'm not thinking, Jesus, please use me. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking, Jesus, why am I here? Jesus, why am I not dead? Jesus, why did my mom die? Jesus, why was I abused? Jesus, why was I divorced? Jesus, why don't I have the relationship with the kids that I want? I'm not think that's part, but that's the thing. That's the miracle in this. And Jesus is like, don't worry. I'm sure you guys have heard it. It hangs in my bedroom. It's footprints. You know, it's like when I don't think Christ is next to me, and that sand in that poem, what a beautiful poem that is. You know, when I look and Christ is with me, you know, right here, right now, right in spot. Sometimes you ever have a conversation and you're done with it and you're like, that wasn't me. I don't even know who said that. Like, if I can see that some people have had those experiences. And that's when I knew, you know, my most simplest prayer is, Lord, use me as a vessel through which your grace and mercy flow. That simple, as a vessel. You know, Lyle talked about it before I came up here, the spirit of rotation, and it's like he uses us all. That spirit of rotation, like, it recognizes, Recovery Church recognizes the fact that God speaks through different people, and they have different gifts to reach different people, and it keeps moving on and on and on. You know, those roots were reborn, were reignited for me in my heart and spirit in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. If you asked and threw a Bible and Scripture in my face and told me about Christ and stuff, like I couldn't do that at that time in my life. And I'm so glad about 5 years ago that changed for me. Now, have I lived a perfect life the past 5 years? Oh no, I have not. But have I wanted to live for Christ and live in a way that honors Him? Yes. You know, so when you have a no, that equals into a yes, you have a spirit of transformation and renewal. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a beautiful thing. I want to talk a little bit about James 1:5. I want to talk about two more things. I want to talk about wisdom, and I want to talk about temptation, because those are big things, you know. So how do I turning my will and my life over to me involves like seeking wisdom. Seeking wisdom for me is not an easy thing to do, because if you didn't know already, I know everything, and I don't need any wisdom. I don't need any network. I don't need anything. I might tell you I do, but I don't need it. And there's people in this room that are like shaking their head, and that's fine. We'll discuss this afterwards. But James 1:5 talks about, but anyone who needs wisdom should ask God, whose very nature is to give everyone, without a second thought, without keeping score. Wisdom will certainly be given to those who ask. And I challenge you and myself, do I ask for wisdom? Do I ask for wisdom from the Lord? Do I ask for, Lord, show me what to do with that opportunity? Lord, show me what to do in that relationship. Lord, show me what to do with my children. You know, I don't have the best relationship with my kids. And that has been a thorn in my side for many, many, many years. And we won't get into that. Look for that on my podcast. But and that's a joke. I would never throw my stuff out there without my kids knowing. But it's been something that's been, you know, it's been a thorn in my side. And that's part of the transparency I want to say. So sobriety, in recovery, not recovery, it never changed. And you know what? You know what hit me in the past couple months? The fact that God may be working on them, like He's been so patient with working with me, and that I don't need to be involved in that and in that work to get the reconciliation to go forward. And that's the wisdom that was provided to me, if that makes sense. And that's I asked for wisdom. That was the answer I got. That's not me. Like let me, God's like, hey, you know what? I'm working on their hearts. I'm softening them. I'm letting them live a little bit so they can like see where you have been and what you're doing. Don't work so hard at it. Book of Matthew talks about the yoke, and it's like the burden. Just let go. Just let it go a little bit. Like, I got this. And my ego and my pride wants to go like, no, I got it, but I don't. And so that's me wanting to force my hand is a way that I try to do that. And that takes me to the next thing, which is about trial and temptation. That's James 1, again, the book of James. James 1:5 is about wisdom. James 1:2 and 3. My brothers and sisters, think of various tests you encounter as occasions for joy. What? After all, the testing of your faith produces endurance. So, third step, third concept, faith, testing of my faith, evidence of things unseen, wisdom, man, like that's powerful stuff for me. How can I look at, so what do my trials look like? My trials look like stability, not have, this goes for people, first of all, everybody's in recovery from something. I don't care what anybody says. Drugs, alcohol, sex, food, whatever, trauma, whatever that is. I believe everybody is in recovery from something. What a wonderful gift. And I believe only a small percentage of everyone being in recovery from something take advantage of a 12-step recovery program that takes us back to Christ. I don't know. I'm a pretty lucky guy. I'm a pretty blessed guy. I used to say lucky a lot. Let me rephrase that. I'm a pretty blessed guy. So trials, like that's part of that wisdom and that awakening of the educational variety that I'm talking about. Like trials, divorce, courts, cleaning up the wreckage of my past, like produces endurance. Wow. You know what I mean? When I look at the negatives or the perceived negatives, somehow, some way, God turns them into positives, like I say earlier. Some way, all right, my kids, right? God always puts men in my life who have kids, who have problems with their kids. Always puts like dads that are estranged from their kids, dads that are married and have their kids in their life, and I'm just like, what? Like, why don't you call your kid? I'm like, I wish I had, and sometimes it's just God always uses my self-will and my consequences from me taking the reins, always uses those lessons to help other men. Always, without a doubt. And part of that renewal of the mind is that I can see it. Part of the wisdom is that I get to act on it. And that's a beautiful thing. That's what this spiritual awakening thing is all about. That's what that turning my will and my life over is, putting those pieces of those puzzles together. That third step prayer in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, Lord, I offer myself to thee. That's a powerful thing. You know what I mean? Like, that means all of me. That doesn't mean on Sunday for church. That means on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. To build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Right? I love that word wilt. It's a little English, but we'll take it. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Wow. Show me that victory over my circumstances are a testimony to you. I'm always like, but I'm embarrassed. I don't want to tell you about that. I don't want to pick up that white chip again. I don't want to have to tell people I relapsed. I don't want to have to tell people I lost my family. I don't want to have to tell people I'm embarrassed, I'm shamed. And that's a part of, the other thing that was revealed to me is that's the endurance piece, like getting through that. That's the evil one that tells me that. We were listening on the way up here. I'll close with this. You guys probably know this song by Lauren Nagel, You Say. And that always almost brings me to tears. You say I'm this, but I'm really this. It's like the third person and God is speaking to me. I say I'm crap, and you say I'm chosen. You know, and that to me is what recovery is all about. I'm chosen. And every day, the evil one says, you're not chosen. You should stay in your room. You should stay hidden. You shouldn't be who you are. But the bottom line is if everybody likes me, there's something wrong. You know, it's so, recovery is such an eye-opening experience for us all, because all Christ is right here. You know, Christ is right here. Christ is in the footprint. You know what I mean? The question is, how long does it take for me to reach out for him and grab onto him? How long? Because he's been there my whole time. And I guarantee you he's been there for yours too. And it's so I'm so blessed to be here, and I'm so glad that you asked me to come up here and give you a message, and I hope I did. So thanks.
Well, thank you, Mark. Great words. Great words.
Thank you.
So if you're watching online and you've been with us, and you know we've had a few opportunities, particularly recently, for you to hear how this works, and if you've got questions, reach out to us and ask. We've also had opportunities for you to do that prayer, the third step prayer and or the sinner's prayer. If you've done that and you want to talk about that, if you just let us know, just reach out to us through Facebook or through the phone number or something. Let us know. We want to help you with that walk and see you through that. If you are with us either here or online and you want to be baptized, we want to make that available to you as well. We'll make it easy on you. We'll go to the beach, all right? It's getting to be that time of year where us Floridians actually do go to the beach pretty soon. So the tourists will be gone and it'll be back to bathtub temperature, and we'll be ready. So anybody who would like to be baptized, just reach out. And then next thing we're going to do is we have a little opportunity for you to come up and get prayer. If you want to have, as we break up, next thing we do is we go women over into the pavilion. Men will stay in here. And before that, Darlene is usually here. She, I think, is out with camp. So we have something, we do something a little different than the chip system. What we do here is we do something called crosses. And so we do celebrate times and anniversaries for crosses. And thank you. And so, but we have something we start with. Instead of a white chip, we have something we call a surrender cross. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have stopped using, but you've stopped something. You're surrendering something to the Lord. Whatever it is that you want to give, because we do believe that we, as Mark said, we recover from all kinds of things. Relationships, food, gambling, sex, whatever it is, anger. If there's something you want to lay at his feet and surrender to the Lord today, come on up. You don't have to tell us what it is. You can if you want. We can pray for you if you want. But get a surrender cross. The beauty of this for me